part of me is still waiting for Margaret to come back.
What? Still? She's not coming back, dude. She's gone.
Look, I know, all right? I know. It's just, I mean, I don't still have feelings for her, but I do in a way. It's like this thing that's inside of me, and it's always just sort of sitting there, waiting around. And sometimes I'll see something, or I'll smell something, and it makes me think of her, even though I don't want to.
Closure. We try to convince ourselves it'll come if we just see them one last time, send that last text, or ask one more question. We believe that only then will we be able to finally move on. But what if I told you there's an easier way? Welcome back. My name's Tiara, and on this channel we glow up internally and have fun doing it. And today's topic is a little less fun, but it's still very important, especially if you're someone that feels like they need closure. I've been through my fair share of breakups, mainly platonic ones like friendships, but I've been through a few romantic endings too. And one thing I've learned is that they can be really messy, like emotionally and mentally. You can feel like you're spiraling, you can feel like you're just ruminating on all the what ifs. Like we all have that one ex that we obsessed over, right? Right? I used to think closure meant getting answers from the other person, but here's the truth. Seeking closure from someone else will usually just complicate your healing, and I'm going to explain why. By the end of this video, you're going to learn the secret to getting real closure.
It just literally feels like he does not care about me. And it sucks because I know he doesn't care about me. Like, he literally said that he lost all romantic feelings for me a week after we stopped talking. Like, he never loved me. And he told that he never loved me and he didn't mean it. And I just feel really used.
When I was going through my first real heartbreak, I probably consumed over 100 YouTube videos, Insta posts, podcasts, articles, like all that media on how to move on, how to let go of my ex, how to feel better after my breakup. I even sent the sappy text asking my ex, "Did you ever truly love me?" Because I convinced myself that that would help me to move on and heal. And I don't want you to have to do any of that. I want this to be the only video you need to watch and consume on closure. So I put together some of the best knowledge that I've gained from the media and personal experience on closure. But first, we have to talk about the elephant in the room, okay? I see you averting your eyes. I see you trying not to see it, okay? But it's there. It's there. It's very big. It's denial. Closure and denial sort of go hand in hand because with both you have a hard time accepting when things end. There's that emotional desire for an explanation, resolution, or understanding about the breakup. And sometimes you don't even really want closure. You want validation or a second chance. Like I bet you kept your ex's hoodie because it's comfy, right? Or maybe you're just scared of being alone. But fear of being alone is not a good enough reason to not let go of someone that doesn't want to be with you. And you know what's scarier than being alone? Being with the wrong person. Ending up with the wrong person, I believe, is very scary compared to just being by yourself. So the first thing you need to do is admit that when you feel like you need closure, you're actually just living in a state of denial because you're refusing to accept the end of the relationship. Like if it feels like you might die without this person, take a deep breath. Let's do it together, okay? In and out. See? You're still alive. Like, that wasn't so hard, right? You're still breathing. You're still alive. There are 3 things that you physically need to survive. You need water, you need oxygen, and you need food. Realistically, you don't need this person to survive. They are not here to give you oxygen, even if it feels like your brain is telling you the opposite.
Dude, you fucking broke me. Like, you... I don't understand what he could possibly be confused about. Like, there's nothing confusing about that. I'm fucking spiraling.
Human connection can help, but you don't need it from this specific person. And this is not me telling you to get over someone by getting under someone new, because I definitely am not an advocate for like getting a rebound or numbing the pain in an unhealthy way. I've tried it before. I didn't get a rebound after my ex, but there was one day where I was like, maybe if I just get really drunk and go clubbing, that'll make me feel better. And it didn't. I literally woke up the next day feeling shittier than I did before because, you know, hangover vibes. So definitely am not an advocate for that. I'm saying you can find comfort from people that are still in your life, like friends or family. You don't need this person to survive. You will continue to live, life will move on, and the world will keep spinning. And I know that hurts to admit, but you can build a life filled with things that make you happy outside of this person. So while you may want closure, you don't need it. And it's also said that the brain processes breakups in the same region as physical pain, so it makes sense why you might feel like you might die without this person, because it's like your nervous system is signaling that you're only okay if I have this. And so you attach to the outcome, and if you don't have that outcome, it's like your world is falling apart.
I need it!
Your subconscious will tell you things like, I need to know why it ended. I need to know what I could have done to keep the relationship intact. I need this answer to be okay. And so you'll come up with excuses for why reaching out or seeing them one last time will be in your best interest. But it's never really one last time, is it? Because after you send that last text, you'll convince yourself that there's still more to say. And I think the truth of the matter is this: there will always be more you can do or say. You can always say or do more, but that doesn't always mean you should. You don't want closure. You want a regulated nervous system. You want to feel calm and at ease again. You want to feel normal, but that feeling has been disrupted by a breakup. So now it feels like you're in emotional chaos. It feels like you might crash out, right? You've got to be brave enough to admit that to yourself. Does that all make sense? Great. Okay, so now we can move on to the next piece of advice. I get why so many people feel like they need closure, because it's like once you get closure, you're able to make sense of what happened. You can find peace. You can finally move on. It's like the door can finally be closed, right? But if you don't get that closure, then it's like you feel stuck. You feel confused. You feel like you're ruminating on the past and the hurt. But the biggest thing I've learned about closure is that it usually comes from within, not from another person. And before you click off, let me explain, okay? Please, don't leave just yet. I used to get really anxious in my relationships until I finally accepted the fact that the only permanent thing in my life is myself. And if you really want to accept the situation and move on, you have to stop exaggerating your place in someone else's life. Anyone can leave at any moment. And yeah, that's a scary thought, but doesn't it make you so much more grateful for the people that have actually chosen to stay in your life and choose you and be a part of your journey? You can either be grateful for choosing the right people or waste your time crying over and chasing the wrong ones. If someone didn't love you enough or see your worth, you don't need to paint them as a villain or as a bad person, unless they cheated or something really bad. That's bad. But sometimes people just don't see your value because they don't want to see it. That's it. And you need to let them have their journey. Not everything you lose is a loss. Fear of not finding love again will cause you to settle. If you put in effort and it wasn't reciprocated, you have the right to walk away. You have the right to change your mind, because you can't find peace with someone that's at war with themselves. I heard that quote before and I was like, oh my gosh, that's so true. You cannot find peace with someone that's at war with themselves. And how can you expect to find peace if you keep going back to the war? If you keep enlisting? That's not peaceful. That's chaotic. I used to have a very anxious attachment style. And so a secure person would look at a person who's emotionally unavailable or just not ready to commit, or just a person that's not good for them. They would look at them and go, I should probably move on. But me? No. No. I saw it as a challenge, okay? It fueled me with thoughts of how can I get them to see my worth? I can't move on. I need this person to see my value, or else that just means I'm trash. I would look at this person as the end all be all, right? And I would be like, I can't be abandoned again. No, it has to be them. It's them or nothing. But someone's perception of you will not make you whole. If you've done everything you could and someone still decides to walk out of your life, let them. Because at that point, what is it that you're really losing? What is it that you're missing out on? I think it'd be silly to think that you're missing out on anything. It's silly to think that you still need closure. If you got ghosted or dumped, that's your closure. If you were the one that broke it off and they didn't fight for you, that's your closure. If somebody can leave you, if they can walk out of your life and be okay with the decision that they've made, that's your closure. You don't need to reach out. I wrote this next part in my notes because I feel like Luma Aziz, I hope that's how you say her name. Luma said it best when she was like, if someone breaks up with you, doesn't want to be with you, and is making it clear that they can go through the days without you, then they are not the right person for you. Accept it for what it is, because for whatever reason, you're not meant to be with that person right now. Don't prolong your pain by going back and forth, hurting yourself. Temporary relief isn't worth the painful loop that you'll keep yourself stuck in if you keep going back to this person. And I get it, it sucks that they aren't around anymore, but they chose not to be. And be honest with yourself, like, do you really want to be with a person that feels like they need to be with you out of insecurity? Because I don't. I want to be with someone who genuinely wants to be with me without force, fear, or guilt. I don't want to be with someone out of convenience, because commitment is a choice. Love is a decision. If you're thinking,
I just feel like I wasn't good enough for them.
babe, you will never be good enough for the wrong person. Don't let your sense of worth be entirely based on other people's estimation of you. If this person you're mourning were as great as you say they are, you'd still be together. And the heartbreak that you're experiencing right now isn't shit compared to what you'd be going through if you were staying with a person who clearly doesn't want to choose you. You've got to take them off the pedestal. I feel like this is a reminder to fix your posture, because I feel like I was sitting like Quasimodo this entire time. Hopefully I wasn't, but whatever. What I was gonna say is, when you are experiencing a breakup, I feel like it's easy to think about all the great qualities they had and all the nice things they did for you. But I'm gonna ask you something that Sabrina Zohar said in one of her podcast episodes that really put things in perspective for me. What are you holding on to? What makes them so amazing, and are they really all those things? List out the things you claim that they are and give 5 to 10 examples for how they showed up in that way. This will help you start seeing people as people. I used to think of my ex as my Disney prince, but when I tried coming up with a list of qualities that made him that, I drew a blank. And that's no shade to him at all. I just think that it made it very clear to me that I was very codependent in the relationship, and I would romanticize the relationship even when it meant putting aside my own needs. Looking back, I feel like we both had a lot of growing to do, which is okay, and it makes sense for the age that we were at, and the age that we're at now, and the age that we were at when we were dating, because we were only like 20, 21, and now we're 22. And I feel like what matters most is that I was able to learn how to value myself, and I want that for you too. You just need to learn and let them have their journey, just like you need to have your journey. This might sting to hear, but one thing I had to accept when it comes to breakups is that nobody owes you an explanation. And you can't even argue something like, but I would never do something like that to them, because that's you. They are not you. Nobody has the same heart as you. No one is obligated to accept you. Nobody owes you an explanation, and you aren't always gonna get an explanation or that apology that you deserve. Some people aren't even capable of giving it anyways, and plus you don't need another person's validation to tell you who you are. You are in control of your healing, nobody else. Now, if you've been watching my content for a while, you know that I love a good analogy, because I just like to simplify things. I feel like a lot of people in like self-improvement or self-growth or healing content, they just love to overcomplicate things, and it's like, it doesn't need to be that hard. It's not that difficult. Just simplify it. So here's a very simple analogy that I heard a while back that I loved. Imagine you got bit by a snake. Would you chase down the snake and say, "Why did you bite me? That really hurt. Explain yourself. I need to know why you bit me." You wouldn't do that, okay? That would be absurd. You would instead steer clear of the snake and allow yourself to heal. You would give yourself time for your wound to heal. You don't need to chase down the snake for an explanation. The snake bit you. Its actions spoke loud enough.
If they couldn't speak, would their actions make you feel loved? I want you to think about it, and whatever your answer is, do with that what you will.
It's not always reasonable to expect meaningful closure from a person who caused you emotional pain. Like, that's like sticking your finger in a fire over and over again and being like, is it gonna hurt this time? Is it gonna hurt this time? Is it gonna hurt this time? Yes, it's gonna hurt, because you keep going back to the places that hurt you. You cannot heal by going back to places that hurt you. You heal an emotional wound by taking care of yourself instead of fixating on a person that caused you pain. You know yourself better than anyone else. There aren't enough YouTube videos in the world that will be able to give you the answers like you can give yourself or that you can get from God or the universe. The answers are already within you. You just have to self-reflect and dig deep enough to find them. It takes introspection. And I know that I always encourage people to get therapy or counseling, but I know that's not always an affordable option. And before I got my coach, one of the best things I did to find closure was create a breakup journal. The journal really helped me to take the shine off my ex in the relationship. It helped me to see things for what they really were. So instead of ruminating on all the things I missed or all the qualities that I missed about our relationship and just thinking about the past, I wrote down all the things that I didn't like about the relationship, how I was treated in it, how I behaved in it, what I would have done differently going forward. I wrote about my experience and how it made me feel, and feelings aren't facts, but they're valid. Instead of bashing my ex, I would ask myself things like, why did I tolerate inconsistency? Why was I sacrificing my needs? A breakup journal can help you learn about yourself, process what you went through, and heal. If you buy your own journal, you can start by answering these questions. What did you learn about yourself from the relationship? What did you ignore or tolerate that didn't serve you? What boundaries will you set in future relationships? I think that there's a huge misconception about closure. Even after you've moved on from a person, there are still going to be days where you miss them or you wonder what they're up to, and I don't think that's a bad thing. Moving on from someone else is painful, but it doesn't mean you made a mistake letting them go. I think if you really want to move on from the relationship, you have to allow yourself to feel. Feelings are not bad. Missing them is not bad. You're human. What do you expect? Closure doesn't always mean you never think about them again or get sad. It just means that you've accepted the situation for what it is. It just is what it is. For me, with my ex, it's a blessing and a curse, I swear. He has one of the most common and popular names you could ever think of. Think of 10 popular names right now in your head and you probably just said his name. That's how popular it is. That's how common it is. I see and hear his name at least once a week, even though we haven't talked in months. In the past, seeing or hearing his name would have made me spiral. I would crash out. I would cry. I would be so sad. But now, I just think, I hope he's doing okay. And I go back to doing whatever I was doing because realistically, what else can I do? There are going to be things that remind you of your person. Allow the memories to come and go instead of pushing them away. Just because this person is no longer in your life doesn't mean you have to pretend they never existed. I think so many people try to skip the painful part of a breakup and go straight to saying, I'm fine. But it's okay to admit that you're not fine. You have to create space to allow yourself to feel. When I was going through my breakup, I cried for 30 days straight. That's one whole month. I cried for a month straight. And I know he wasn't crying for a month straight. He probably didn't even cry. He probably didn't cry once. But I cried for a month straight. And I didn't shame myself or feel guilty for doing that. I just allowed myself to feel. The last thing I want to talk about is accountability and self-forgiveness. And if you're someone with an anxious attachment style or you identify as a fixer, this is going to be a huge one for you. If you equate love with feeling needed, then breakups are gut-wrenching. When you feel needed, you feel valued. But if this person no longer wants you, it's easy to feel rejected and like a failure. It's easy to beat yourself up, especially after the breakup when you realize you put up with a lot of shit that you probably shouldn't have. But you have to forgive yourself. Closure isn't about forgetting the hurt or erasing the pain. It's about caring for yourself like you would your best friend. We are all capable of making mistakes. That's the math of life, something I recently learned in a book I'm reading. Listen, in math, 1 + 1 is 2. 1 + 1 is the cause and 2 is the effect. In life, our choices create an effect. You can't take back or subtract from the choices you made, but you can look at the math, see what didn't work, and learn from it. The math isn't always going to be perfect. I had to switch locations because the leaf blower guys came out and started going right next to my freaking camera. So I was like, okay, guess I have to leave. One of the guys was like to me and I was like, I'll just leave. So now we're in the car, but the message still stands. So let's move on. You have to admit that sometimes you make errors and you can't always blame someone else for their choices without looking at your choices too. Like, for example, if you are someone that is like,
I always get in situationships. I always date these guys for months and months and months, and then towards the end, they just break things off. Or, I'm always dating emotionally unavailable people.
It's like, okay, but you're making the choice. You're making the choice to date these emotionally unavailable people for a certain amount of time. Like, yes, they're making some flawed choices, but so are you. You can hold yourself and others accountable without feeling shame, guilt, or taking all the blame. Maybe you were taught growing up that that's not okay, but I'm telling you right now that it is. You just learn and you move forward because everybody makes mistakes. Everybody has those days. Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Everybody gets that way. Stop expecting closure and start finding it within yourself. What can you take away from the experience? Because that's what really matters. You loved, you lost, and you gained so much in the process. When you crave closure from this specific person, you're operating from a lack mindset. Your nervous system thinks it won't be okay unless it gets that specific outcome, that specific person. But you are capable of healing even if it doesn't feel like it right now. If someone doesn't have the emotional capacity to support the deep connection that you want, then you have to honor yourself by walking away. Walking away is an act of self-love. Right now, there just might not be potential for you and this person to grow. So all that's left for you to do is look at their behavior, then your own, and move from there. Not everything is as personal as we like to think it is. Someone choosing to not be with you has nothing to do with you. It has to do with them and their choices. I remember when my ex and I broke up, he told me, "I'd rather regret losing you than cause you pain because I can't figure out my own feelings." And when I heard that, y'all, I was so angry. I told myself that it was honorable bullshit. But now I understand that his inability to commit to me had nothing to do with me and everything to do with him. And my inability to accept that had nothing to do with him and everything to do with me. In the end, his emotional limits had nothing to do with me, and I had to come to terms with that. It was a huge moment of growth for me, and it can be for you too, because I genuinely believe that if someone is meant to be in your life, it'll work out in the future. And that's not me saying it's the right person at the wrong time. More on that topic in this video. I think you just have to thank the situation for freeing you to grow. And if you and this person never get back together again, I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's because you're meant for something more. You're meant for something better than you could have ever imagined. Either way, you win if you look at this ending as a symbol of growth. Just because things didn't work out with them doesn't mean that things won't work out. If you really want to heal and move on, separation is necessary. It's messy, it's confusing, and it's painful, but years from now, you're going to be grateful that you stuck with it. And there you have it, folks. My not-so-secret secret to getting real closure. It's like they were like, haha, you thought you were going to finish the video? Huh? You thought we were just going to let you get away? Huh? If you still feel like you need a little bit more encouragement on the topic of closure, letting go, and moving on, then I'm going to put a link in the description to a podcast episode that I really think would be helpful, and also some songs on closure that also are very, very, very helpful. Like, I literally got one of the songs tattooed on my body because I just love the thought of releasing people with love. And this is one of the songs. It's I Wish You Roses by Kali Uchis. Gucci's. I love it. Anyways, so go in the description for the links for those, and just remember that closure isn't a race, okay? You are allowed to take your time with it. You can go at your own pace with it. Healing isn't linear. It's very up and down. Sometimes it's a little backwards, and then it's forwards, then it plummets, then it goes up, then you're like, oh, I'm good, then it's back down. So you just have to take it at your own pace. I know how much a breakup can really, really suck, but there is magic in your healing. Something beautiful is unfolding. So you just have to trust in the process, trust in yourself, trust in God and the universe, or whatever it is that you believe in. You just have to trust. You just have to trust. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, prove it by giving it a thumbs up and leave a comment below letting me know your thoughts. I'll see you next time. Bye! Future Tiara, if you're listening, I hope I'm in a much better mental state than I am right now in this moment. I miss. If you still feel like you need closure and you need to reach out to them, do it. Do it. I don't care. Not my life. But when you're really ready to start healing, this video will still be here, honey. I'll still be here. It'll be here when you're ready. That was so sassy. That was so sassy. Oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it.